Bungie is not doing too hot, and now after months of speculation of whether Marathon was going to be good enough to weather the storm, the truth is finally out, and Sony is likely kicking themselves for paying what they did for Bungie, as IGN reported recently. Sony has filed their report, and they have an impairment loss of $765 million. In case you don't know what impairment loss even is, it's when something's market value drops on a company's balance sheet. It effectively means there is a massive decrease in value to whatever it is that any company is writing down, meaning that in this case, Bungie as a company and as a developer in Sony's books has lost tremendous value to Sony overall. Remember that Sony spent $3.6 billion buying Bungie a few years back. So this is terrible news if you're into Bungie games and want to see Bungie, keep existing as it is. It's even worse because Destiny 2 has already lost Sony, as you can see there where I highlighted, around $200 million because that game is also underperforming as well. IGN also confirms where I highlighted here that Marathon's budget was somewhere near $250 million somehow for an extraction shooter, that's real. That's a lot of money, man. If you want a comparison, if you base The Witcher 3, for example's budget in today's currency, it means that The Witcher 3 costed somewhere around $110 million to create. So Marathon somehow was twice as expensive and then some than the entirety of The Witcher 3. And that is just nuts, and that just shows you how wildly out of budget Bungie's entire operation is going these days. And if you ask me, Sony would have made, a lot more money if they had 2 Witcher 3-like experiences for the price of a single Marathon, but what's done is done. The genie is out of the bottle and it's starting to drink too much, and there's really nothing that we can do about it now. I've seen many online say, well, what can Bungie even do though? If they make Marathon easier and more casually friendly, isn't that just going to make Marathon less special? But if they make it free to play, maybe they'll just end up angering the people who paid for the game at release. I don't even think like a single player campaign could fix this mode either, especially considering whenever Bungie adds a campaign to their games in the past 10 years, these campaigns are also very short and they offer very little replayability. Now a PvE mode, that could maybe fix things. But as of right now, Marathon is, as they say in the biz, cooked. They should never have made this game to begin with. I mean, Destiny 2, that's already struggling. It needs serious help to bring people back too. Destiny 2, by the way, that's my most played video game of all time. I've done the raids, I've platinumed the games, I did it all, man. But there's really no reason to continue playing these sorts of games because they're just hamster wheels that are designed to just waste your time. Not to mention, if you want to get into Destiny 2 right now, you have to spend well over $100 and then some for all the content that is relevant in order to be in the current meta. It just kind of puzzles me how Bungie wasted Destiny's PvP modes and instead diverted these resources to make a new game. It's such a bizarre design decision, but they probably thought if they could make Marathon work, it would also uplift Destiny as well. The reality, instead, is now having in just one struggling game in Destiny 2, Bungie now has 2 struggling games they need to keep alive. Wow, that's a great thing to be in, isn't it? Which is just more resources wasted and spent now keeping these things alive. It truly is a weird spot to be in, and I'm sure Sony is probably kicking themselves having paid $3.6 billion for Bungie, because the price they paid did not pay off at all. Then you have Lin Tao. He's the financial officer of Bungie who said this during their investor Q&A. In our studio business, earnings from Bungie's title portfolio did not reach our expectations. So we downwardly revised our business plan and impaired the full amount of the fixed assets related to Bungie except for goodwill. So despite this catastrophic reception to Bungie's entire games portfolio, let's be real, Lin Tao believes that Marathon has a bright future, which I mean, what else are they going to say during an investor call, right? You're sitting there speaking to people who invested millions of dollars into you, telling them, yeah, we wasted your money. But we're going to keep investing further into this game that is pulling horrifically low player numbers currently. And as I write this video, by the way, Marathon, as you can see there, it only has 6,463 players online with a high point of barely 12k users. And that's on Steam, right? That's Marathon's main platform, by the way. So the PlayStation numbers are likely even lower than this. This does not begin to describe how poorly Marathon has gone. It's even more pathetic considering, as you can see there, that Destiny 2 Steam charts confirmed it's currently having more players online playing Destiny Destiny than Marathon right now. That's right, your game that is almost a decade old is pulling more players than your new PvP shooter that came out 2 months ago. This is extinction level numbers. This all kind of makes you wonder, like, will Bungie have layoffs? That is likely now a very big possibility. I also decided to look at other always online PvP games to see if Marathon's numbers were as bleak. So here's Arc Raiders right now, and yeah, they have 82,000 players on a weekday morning. That's crazy. That's Arc Raiders on a Tuesday morning when I'm writing this video, and that has almost as many players as Marathon's highest peak player count when the game first came out. If you ever needed a comparison of this is probably over, yeah, this is it, guys. Look, I don't want to be doom and gloom like this all the time with Marathon, but it kind of needs to be said. The reason why people see and care about these numbers is simple, because why would you invest in an online game which already has such a low player count? If it means, and there is a real possibility, that it could not exist in a week or a month based on how it's performing currently. I mean, even Battlefield 6 has, as you can see there right now, 69, nice, almost 70,000 players on a Tuesday morning. And that's 7 months removed from its release cycle. It almost has as many players as Marathon's peak again. Do I really need to keep showing you comparisons? Like, the point is proven. This turkey is cooked, fellas. The meat is not moist, the oven isn't responding, the house is full of smoke, the curtains have caught fire, and the house that Bungie built is about to be burned down. My opinion? Just abandon Marathon entirely. Cut your losses, close the game down, take those resources, take whatever you can asset-wise from that game, and then just repurpose it back into Destiny 2. Stop trying to spin multiple plates at once, because it clearly is not working. Live service development is hard, look, I get that, but you can't be doing this, man. It just doesn't work. And before anyone says, oh, you're just saying things, okay, fine. Well, here's Paul Tassi from Forbes. He's one of Bungie's biggest defenders, and look at that headline. He admits that both games can exist simultaneously, and he's right. Bungie has to pick a side. Do they go with the much more highly profitable and malleable Destiny franchise? Or do they pigeonhole themselves with Marathon? Anyone who says Marathon is just wrong. And I don't mean that maliciously, just optics-wise. It's just the wrong choice. Paul Tassi has insiders at Bungie, of course. So he's telling people what he knows, as he says here. Lacking both the resources it once had when Marathon had a much smaller team and before several rounds of layoffs at the studio, Bungie is having significant problems producing even a much lighter calendar of content for Destiny 2. Currently in the midst of its longest content drought ever, and as such, its lowest player count. And that's why this is bad, man, because Marathon existing and needing what it needs to be successful to meet its laughably bad player count numbers, that's not only affecting that game's development, it's pulling those resources away from Destiny as well. And it's just frankly not really worth it in the long run. Everybody wants a new Destiny game, a clean slate for Bungie to build on. They need to shed all the fat and stupid, from moronic community managers who mass block anybody who asks questions about Bungie, looking at you, DMG, or entire games that are just a waste of money and resources in Marathon. It's as Paul said, one has to go. It's not a choice. It's not going to be Destiny unless Bungie's head is full of rocks. Paul also admits, as I said before, as you can see there, that even in its weakened state that it's currently in, Destiny 2 is still pulling more players than Marathon, which is again only months old. That is a disaster. Just pull the plug already. You guys tried, but you still ended up making another Concord in the end anyways. If you did anything, you should have just maybe made some Destiny spin-offs. Like a Souls-like Destiny game would be amazing in the style of like Remnant 2. Or a Destiny Metroidvania made by a much smaller team outside of Bungie. That could be cool as well. But nobody wanted Marathon, really. I mean, if they did, it would still have higher player counts. The fact that Arc Raiders is pulling Marathon's highest peak player count in its weakened state with all the updates and controversy surrounding that game still, like, that tells you everything. This is a game in Marathon that is being so forced upon the players and nobody is showing up in numbers that really matter. Bungie just, they need to reset, man. Double down on Destiny. Get rid of any of the problematic or leech-like elements like your moronic community managers who divide your player bases and just move on. Seriously, your community manager DMG literally blocks everybody that he talks to that doesn't agree with him. Like the Hijabi Gamer said here in late April, the guy is an avid Destiny fan, yet DMG blocked him despite never interacting with the guy once. Tell me, why is your community manager, whose job, by the way, is meant to bring people together and relay information to the Destiny team, out here blocking everybody, which goes against the entire concept of what DMG's job is meant to be about in the first place? Like, tell me, it doesn't make any sense. The entire company over there at Bungie is just backwards. We got live service games people want to play being drained of content and resources to make way for a game that nobody is playing, which is leading to more problems. And the guy who's supposed to be the call line between the company and the concerned player base would rather block everybody who gives him valid criticism than take down any notes to relay to the team for fixes. No wonder this whole thing isn't working. Everything is cooked, right? Like, it's what a mess. Crazy, though, that Paul Tassi admitted this in his article, which says, of course, I do not trust Sony to make good decisions. It has shown repeatedly, from paying $3.6 billion in the first place for Bungie to truly believing that Concord was a huge new future IP for them. And especially in this live service space, it is clearly lost at sea. Look, Paul and I routinely don't see eye to eye on many things, but at least we can agree that when it comes to Bungie, that they are making some of the dumbest decisions in AAA gaming right now, and they need to right that ship, because all they've been doing is hitting iceberg after iceberg. That's a little Titanic joke for you. Remember the movie where an old rich lady recounts how she got laid on a cruise ship once, and then she threw away a necklace that was worth generational wealth because she's a moron? God, that lady sucks. And actually, that lady in Titanic, it's a lot like Bungie, really. Just out of touch people making dumb decisions in the moment. Some websites, of course, tried to spin the Bungie disaster into hope, like Aftermath.com. Ironic considering the website's name and what they're talking about. But as you can see there, they spend the entire article trying to say that Bungie didn't fail in making Marathon, as Aftermath said here. The framing supports a narrative that the people at Bungie have failed, that the game they have made is failing, when the reality is that executive decisions put them to work on a type of game that was destined to be a declining fad by the time the game actually came out, and that the only metrics for what constitutes a successful game are wildly optimistic ones. Yeah, that's called failing, Aftermath. This is like people trying to say you can't say anything mean because it's not nice. No, the neighbor's kid's not slow in the head. He's just special. No, he's slow in the head. Stop sugarcoating things. Just admit it, Marathon was not what anybody wanted. If it was, people would have showed up and played it. Saying that Bungie didn't fail is a lie. You're setting up the idea that more studios should be okay with giving people what they don't want, but instead making things that don't work because failure is not real, apparently. That is a dangerous way of doing things. It's like someone tried in court having their lawyer spin the story. My client didn't end those people, Your Honor. They just moved their souls to another plane of existence. Now, that's still the same thing. Like, you realize that, right? Marathon failed. Stop trying to prop this corpse up and spray it with all the cologne in the world when it's clearly rotting and smells bad. Just admit the truth and move on. We don't need more games like this. Destiny 2, at least, has its own unique corner of the industry pie that it uniquely operates within. No game can actually do what Destiny 2 does the way that it does at the level that it can deliver. Like, that's just real. Bungie just needs to keep with that one game. Like Paul said before, Marathon is eating into Destiny 2's resources. This is the epitome of something that has to give, or this whole boat is gonna sink alongside the Titanic lady and her stupid necklace. Aftermath, again, as you can see there, tries to cope some more, saying that we need games like Marathon, because they are works of art that resonate apparently with millions of people. Well, that also isn't true, is it? Marathon allegedly only broke maybe 1 million copies at best. It needed to sell roughly 6 or 7 million copies just to break even. It's not even a game that is being embraced by millions. It's more like thousands at this point, but like the low thousands of that. And I get the whole art angle, but once your game costs $250 million to make, you're no longer just making art in your garage. You're making something that has tangible stakes attached to it. This is not a painting or someone making something out of yarn to be cute. It's a multimedia video game thing meant to be played endlessly, created by industry professionals. God, I hate the game's media, man. The way they try to spin every failure, they're like just as bad as some of these tone-deaf CEOs who swindle their investors with cunning words. Our game didn't fail, it's just that the audience simply vanished. They got sucked into the sky and could not buy our game. What's that? When will that audience return? It's hard to say. We're not actively looking for them. But yeah, anyway, your money's gone. Please don't yell at us about about how to change things, or our community manager DMG will simply block you and cry about it to his therapist later. Like, I can just imagine how DMG does his job, man. Some concerned Destiny 2 player just comments on DMG's post like, hey, this gun isn't working properly. Can you like tell the development team to fix it in a patch? And DMG's probably just like, how dare you ask me to do my job? Do you have any idea how this affects my mental health? And then you're blocked. I feel like the games industry at times is like a full-time adult daycare somewhat, the way that some of these people operate within it, man. Hey, what does the community think about Destiny, DMG? Oh, I have no idea. I blocked everybody already. I'm just gonna sit here instead collecting my paycheck, doom-scrolling Twitter. Shouldn't you like be engaging with the community to figure out what we need to improve on? How dare you? Look, there's a feeling surrounding Bungie that we really can't be ignoring anymore. It's not even really outrage or even disappointment. It's like something heavier, right? It's, I guess, uncertainty. Bungie used to represent something really rare in the AAA space. They were like the rogue marauders, man, making these really cool games that felt like they were pulling God's own creations from the ether, like they were the chosen ones. They knew how to make these worlds that we wanted to live in. They had this amazing identity and style and confidence to everything they made and did. Now it's just not really what it used to be. Look, I get why Sony thought it was a good idea to buy Bungie, right? They wanted their expertise. That's why they did it. The writing was all there, right? Sony wanted to pivot into live service, but they didn't really know how to do that. So instead of figuring it out themselves, they thought maybe we should just buy the most successful live service studio that we can find. And then just force them, because we own them now, to teach, us how to replicate what they have done, but with our other games. I guess it was because Sony wasn't satisfied with just being the king of single-player games. They probably wanted to pivot to live service, and they wanted that reoccurring revenue structure, right? That just became Sony's new obsession. And Bungie being bought, that was a part of that future. That major moronic shift to live service, it's been a nightmare. The PS5 era has largely sucked for real, right? Like Sony's first-party single-player games, we don't have enough of them. Instead, they want this long-term ecosystem just everywhere. Sure, okay, one live service game that is successful can generate revenue for years, that's true. But there's the problem, right? Which is that most of these games fail because nobody can commit to that many games that require the time that they need. People's time and trust is already limited, and the competition out there is brutal. Destiny 2 was already waning at this point, right? Seasons, they felt repetitive. There was way too much monetization. They were content vaulting everything, and the fatigue that you felt from engaging with it all was real. But if you're like me, who has played Bungie games forever, like the magic just doesn't feel like it's there anymore. Once we got to Marathon, it wasn't really met with universal praise, right? It was just skepticism and intense competition. And is it really no wonder why everyone and their dog was asking, why this now? Bungie used to be the people who made the trends. Marathon is just chasing trends. And people notice that immediately because they're not dumb, and that's the real problem at the core of this. The live service, I guess, gold rush, for lack of a better term, doesn't really feel unstoppable like it once did. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. People are pivoting more towards focused, complete games that also respect their time, that have a beginning and an end. So by the time that Marathon did come out, it was entering a market where everybody was, frankly, already exhausted by games like this. Now you got the reports piling up, the concerns and the conversations all over. Will Bungie survive this? What about their games? And I get that. Perception is going to matter, that's true. But when it comes to Bungie, that perception, it feels deeply unstable, dude. But it's not just Bungie, right? It's PlayStation's overall problem too. Sony built their reputation on these prestige games that people love. Now they're just doing the opposite. Like, no wonder people aren't showing up the way that they did. Oh, look at us, we're Sony. We're known for our steaks and chicken wings. Well, now we're vegan. And we got rid of our steak. Wait, where are you going? Trust me, you guys are going to want this. Why are you leaving? Like, Bungie's biggest strength wasn't even really their mechanics, it was their core identity. It was the feeling, right, that when you played a Bungie game, you were getting a Bungie experience. Their games are all about atmosphere and community and player investment and really, really solid and tight shooting. But with what they're doing now, that emotional connection that kept them going for years, it feels weakened, almost gone now. And this is the wall that many publishers are running into right now. You can't force players into infinite engagement anymore. There are too many games. There's too many subscriptions. There's too many battle passes. Oh my god, the battle passes. Why are there so many of them? And it's not because people hate multiplayer games, but because they're tired of games feeling designed around like retention first and the experience second. That's why Marathon has become such a lightning rod for all of this, because to many people, it just represents something bigger than really any one game. It's the epitome of the industry's obsession with stuff that people don't care about. Now, is Bungie doomed? They might be. There's no word yet of layoffs, but that being said, what they have done these past few years is clearly not working for them. But I would be lying if I didn't admit that there is, anxiety for sure surrounding how Bungie will survive this in the future if they can. Because what we are seeing is one of gaming's most respected Western studios, at least before, that has just tarnished their reputation through countless false promises, DLC that haven't delivered, and having the communication lines between what we want and what Bungie is doing being severed by bad actors who hate the audiences that they're meant to be serving. How is anything meant to work when Bungie gets no feedback because their people, like their community manager, just block everybody? How is anything meant to resonate when all Bungie is focused on is making sure that their monetization works over combating bigger problems like the cheaters in their games, which are ruining Marathon, by the way, currently? Like, it's so bad, dude. It's horrible. But the fear for me, right, isn't whether Marathon is failing, because it is. Like, you can't deny that. There's no fear there. That's just the truth at this point. The fear is that Bungie is slowly but surely losing their identity and their reputation because they are chasing things that Bungie, as a studio, was not founded to be about in the first place. And because they are where they are now, it's almost impossible to go back to what they were before. Marathon has to be stopped to make way for Bungie's hopeful revival. They need to stop chasing trends. Be the Bungie that people remember them to be. But until that happens, all you're going to get is more impairment losses, more investors that are going to be angry, and people just walking away. Because if Bungie doesn't care to deliver what you expect from them, then why should we? Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Subscribe if you want to. Just don't bother asking DMG about any of this because he'll just block you anyways. But what a mess, man.